And we're going to go around the NBA tonight on a bunch of matchups, a bunch of games around the NBA, a bunch of tight finishes. And we're going to start off with this finish in the Dallas Mavericks versus the Phoenix Suns game. This was an interesting game, especially when you look at what happened down the stretch, how the Phoenix Suns really kicked in without Chris Paul, without, a lot of things going on there, and were able to pull this game out, winning 105-102. They help in the second half. In the third quarter, they scored 31 to Dallas's 19, and then 29 to Dallas's 21, in which in a game, even at certain times in that fourth quarter, it did look like Dallas was still going to be able to pull out this game, but it really did come down to the Phoenix Suns just hitting the right shots at the right time. Cameron Payne hitting a big shot, Lee hitting a big shot, and the game-winning shot in a lot of ways. The Phoenix Suns get a big win to start off their season against the Dallas Mavericks and send Luka Doncic and the rest of the Dallas Mavericks down to 0-1 to start the season. Now, Luka in this game had 32 points. Now, he was 9 for 21 from the field, 2 for 9 from three-point range, but hitting 12 of 12 from the free throw range for those 32 points. And then Christian Wood as well, who did come up big in a lot of ways in that fourth quarter, giving the Dallas Mavericks something as well. He was 9 of 15 overall from the field, but 4-7 from the three-point range. And they had Christian Wood out there in crunch time as well as they were trying to still out that game. Unfortunately, the Mavericks just did not do enough to get the victory in this game. And the Phoenix Suns get to start their season off 1-0 to win this game. And so this was a game, like I said, especially with Chris Paul not being on the floor in crunch time. We know what Chris Paul means to that team. For this team to be able to get that win in the manner in which they did without Chris Paul being on the floor, I think says a lot. Chris Paul only 1 for 6 in this game, only having 6 points overall in this game, 9 assists, 2 steals, about 3 rebounds as well. But outside of that, it really just was like Booker doing some things, Bridges doing some things. It really was a team win, but down the stretch, it just came up to players making big shots. And I said, Craig, Lee, Payne, all hitting big shots for this team when the crunch time was on and when it was important. So they are able to get that and seal that victory in that. We got Brandon L. Jet in the chat. What's going on, Brandon? Doing my first live here over on NBA Central. It's good to have Brandon L. Jet, one of the biggest supporters there. But this game, Phoenix Suns, Dallas Mavericks, probably one of my favorite games from the night outside of my Chicago Bulls pulling out their victory. But I'll leave that to Chicago Bulls since you guys can go and check that out. 107-105, the Phoenix Suns get the victory in this game. Now, we do also want to talk about Paolo Banchero in his first game in the NBA. It came in a loss, but 27 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks. He caught a body in this game, but they weren't able to come out and take away the victory. A very talented Detroit Pistons team that's in the Central Division and one of the better divisions in basketball. I do like this team a lot. I think this is going to be a team that, while young, is going to have to learn how to win, but they did get the victory here, 113-109. Ivy coming up big here, 19 points. Bogdanovich, 24 points in this one. Cunningham, 18 points. Isaiah Stewart, 14 points in this one. And we had Jalen Duren coming off the bench with being 7 for 13th with 14 points, 10 rebounds, 1 assist, and 3 blocks. I think that starting position is going to be coming to him sooner rather than later when you look at Duren and what he's able to do. But this was another game that was a nail-biter. Came down to the fourth quarter in which Orlando did outscore the Detroit Pistons in the fourth quarter by 4 points. Was still 4 points short to come up with the victory, but nonetheless, it still was a fun game to watch if you got to see this game and pieces of it. I had to catch up on this one after the Bulls game. And as we just keep going around the NBA, we're going to talk about some games here. I do want to talk about the Knicks and the Memphis Grizzlies game because there's so much to take away from this game, I think, right? The Knicks, who I've said that even with all their additions, the Knicks are still going to probably be like a 39-win team. In this game, some of their best contributions came off the bench. When you look at Cam Reddish being second overall in scoring with 22 points off the bench in this one, 9 for 15, 3 for 6 from the three-point range. He played very well in this. But Isaiah Hartenstein playing 40 minutes in this game, the backup center with 16, 8, and 4 in this game and 1 block as well. Mitchell Robinson only played 13 minutes. He was 2 for 3. He did not look good at all. He had a negative plus minus of -7. Did not look great in this game at all. But Ja Morant, who's become one of my favorite players in the NBA, to open up the season with a 30-point point performance, 9 assists, 4 rebounds, 1 block in this game. And Ja Morant just did things. Now, he did have a lot of turnovers and 6 turnovers from Ja Morant, but at the end of the day, he came in, he played very well. Desmond Bane as well, chipping in 16 points. Their second overall score. No, I'm sorry. Adama was their second overall scoring with 18 points. He had a positive plus-minus of plus 18 as well, but this was one of those games that was really fun to watch as well. We're going to go back to the chat. Brandon L. Jet in this mug. He says, Ian Stewart days as the starting center will be over. Duren is an animal. Yes, you can count the days in which Duren is going to take over that starting center position. That's for sure. That is 100% sure. But the Memphis Grizzlies open up with the victory over the New York Knicks. And even though this game went into overtime, when you look at the way the Knicks play, they leave a lot to be desired, I think. I'm not really looking for the Knicks to do anything. Brandon L. Jet mentions here in the chat, RJ Barrett left this game in the offseason tonight. Left his game in the offseason. He was 3 for 18. It's not going to cut it. Listen, RJ Barrett was a player that I think a lot of people thought may break out, right? And you don't wonder why the Knicks were willing or thinking about including him in the deal for Donovan Mitchell until they went ahead to extend him, because just with the way that RJ Barrett plays, right, he's going to put up numbers. But it's just something about RJ Barrett's game that I'm not a full believer in, that he's ever going to be an impact player on a really, really good team. On a middling team, a team that's fighting for a play-in, RJ Barrett's going to be good. But I think, like, if you're a team that's in contention or wants to contend, you're going to still need one, if not 2 players better than RJ Barrett, in my opinion, that you can depend on a little bit more. And I have some issues with RJ Barrett in clutch moments when things get tight. I think he falters a little bit there. Again, that's just my opinion on that one. I know everybody doesn't share that. Jalen Brunson in this game, the guy who, the $100 million man, 7 for 18 in this game, though, 15 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists. He was almost everything that you wanted to see and advertised to be as well, but they just weren't able to get it done. Smear60 in the chat, he's saying the Nuggets lost to the Jazz. They got blown out. That's actually the next game we're going to talk about, only because I just want to talk about how the Jazz went about getting this victory, right? The Jazz, a team that, by most people's estimation and mine as well, I thought the Jazz were going to be tanking. Now, David Locke, who hosts Locked On Jazz, still has always said that this Jazz team can still be a playoff team. And when you look at the way that they were able to beat the Nuggets in this game with a balanced attack, a lot of points coming from Colin Sexton as well, who seems to be ready to go. He was 6 for 12 with 20 points, leading the Utah Jazz in scoring off the bench. But you still have Malik Beasley with 15 off the bench, Rudy Gay off the bench with 16, Walker Kessler, the rookie, who I was high on and wanted my team, the Chicago Bulls, to draft. He was 5 for 5 from the field, 10 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, only 1 turnover, and 2 fouls. Now, the reason why I point out the fouls is because, as many people know, when you're talking about rookie bigs, they get in foul trouble usually early and often. The fact that he was able to play that brand of defense, rebound the ball as well as he did, and get 12 points and only have 2 personal fouls, that's huge in my opinion. Like, I don't want to overlook that at all. And Jokic still got work done, right? We're going to talk about the Jazz side of this, but the Nuggets side of this, but the Utah Jazz's bench in this game, like, when you have over 50 points coming just from your bench, it's going to be hard to lose most games like that. The Jazz in this game played extremely well. And then even in the starting lineup, Mike Conley with 13, Lauri Markkanen, a former Bull, with 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 17 points, a positive plus-minus of +4. The Utah Jazz to start off this season with a win against a team that most people think is going to be a finals competitor, have a chance for at least a conference final, in the Denver Nuggets, who have the 2-time MVP in Nikola Jokic. It's wild that they opened the season with this type of win, because I wasn't expecting this, right? But on the Denver Nuggets side of the ball, Jokic did what you expect Jokic to do. 27 points. He did only have 4 rebounds, which is weird. 6 assists, 3 steals, no blocks at all. He had 22 points. Aaron Gordon with 22. Michael Porter Jr. with 15. And shout out to Michael Porter Jr. as well, who I had been saying, like, I wonder how much is he going to look like him when he comes back. Michael Porter Jr. returning from injury seems like he's going to be ready to go, right? He's back in full force. But when you look at this game and the tell of this game, like, the turnovers, right, in this game, like, the fact that the Denver Nuggets had 21 turnovers in this game. Now, yes, the Utah Jazz also had 20 turnovers, so it wasn't a huge discrepancy there, but the points off turnovers, the Denver Nuggets had 34 points off turnovers, whereas the Utah Jazz had 25 points off turnovers, but they still lost the game, which is crazy. The Utah Jazz winning the rebound battle 43-35 in this game. The assist battle, winning that 27-21. Shot the ball way better from three-point. They were 16 for 38 whiles. The Nuggets were 5 for 22, only 22%, and the Jazz shot 42% from three-point range. This is just a wild game and one of those games that kind of breaks up some things. I wonder how this affects some teams or some people's fantasy teams because it was huge, man. It was huge in this game in the way that they played. Like the Jazz pulling out a victory in this, man, I don't want to overlook it. It was crazy. But, let's move into the next game. You guys already mentioned it in the chat. New Orleans Pelicans versus the Brooklyn Nets. The Pelicans winning this game 130-108. Somebody said in the chat that Zion was on a mission. That was Brandon L. Jett. Absolutely. 25 points from Zion Williamson, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, only 2 turnovers. He had a positive plus-minus of plus 13. Zion is back, guys. And then Brandon Ingram, and I said this before, this team learning to play without Zion could do nothing but benefit this team. 28 points from Brandon Ingram, another 21 points from C.J. McCollum, Valanciunas with 15 points, Herb Jones with 6 points, but we know that's not what Herb Jones is necessarily out there on the court when you're surrounded by the players that they're surrounded with. One of the things that this team has done is by unlocking C.J. McCollum as the point guard here, running with a lot of bigs that can shoot as well. And Zion, who's just Zion, he's going to be amazing. Not taking any 3-pointers, but 11 for 22 in this game. The New Orleans Pelicans are going to be legit, bro. They're going to be. I really feel like they're going to be legit. This is going to be a team that we talk about when it gets to playoff time. A team that you're going to be wondering how can people stop them, no matter what their seeding is. Smear60 in the chat says this Pelican squad is great. He also says, I bet they are a 5th seed this season. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised with that at all. It's like having the veteran and CJ McCollum is very much so playing the role of that DeMar DeRozan plays for the Chicago Bulls and just making everything go there. When you look at this lineup, the fact that they started Ingram, Williamson, Herb Jones, and Valanciunas, you would think in a modern day NBA, how difficult would that lineup be, right? But CJ McCollum just makes it all work down there in New Orleans, and I think them having that season without Zion, it's just done well. Now, on this Brooklyn Nets side of this, the Nets, Kevin Durant did Kevin Durant-like things, 32 points from Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving with 4 points, Ben Simmons in 23 minutes had only 4 points, and this is why when people say stuff about Patrick Williams, I'm like, do you see Ben Simmons out there? But he also chipped in 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He had a negative plus-minus of negative 26 in this game. Patty Mills with 16 off the bench, almost the second leading scorer for the Brooklyn Nets coming off the bench. Listen, I've said this before when it comes to the Brooklyn Nets. They're going to be a good team. But I think the days of the Brooklyn Nets being looked at as this unbeatable powerhouse is over. It's over, in my opinion. I think it's over. I just don't think the Nets are going to be a powerhouse at all in this league. I don't think they're going to be. I think they're going to be a really good team. They're gonna bust some things up, but it is what it is. Did I say Ben Simmons had a good game? I did not mean he had a good game. He had a solid game, but it wasn't good overall. Like, he looked out of place out there at times. I don't think that this Brooklyn Nets team is built for the same type of success as when this team had James Harden. And some people will say that goes without saying, but when you really look at it, like, and again, one game, we're reacting. We had preseason 2. The Brooklyn Nets don't put fear in my heart like they did before. Yes, they have Kevin Durant, who's an amazing talent, and Kyrie is amazing. And yeah, they still were missing some of their key pieces in this game as well. So I want to make sure that I point that out. But I don't know, man. I don't really know how I feel about the Brooklyn Nets at this point. I don't really think that, it's again, when we talk about other teams that are able to move into one of the top 4 or 5 spots, if we had to pick a team that was going to drop in that, I would pick the Brooklyn Nets because I don't see them being this powerhouse anymore. Brandon L. Jett in the chat says, I'll reserve the West seeding until I see the Clippers play. They will be a dangerous team if they're all healthy. Warriors, Suns, and Memphis are the clear front runners so far. I agree with that. Like, I do think that those teams are going to separate themselves. the Clippers being full, that's one of the biggest questions in the NBA is, can the Clippers stay healthy? And when they do stay healthy, just how good they are, because they have all the makings to be a great team in this league, right? But they just got to stay healthy, man. They just have to stay healthy, period. Lakers being a TNT headliner for Tuesday and Thursday is hilarious to me. Bro, the Lakers are going to be such a trash team this season. Like I said before, if you follow me on my other platforms, Anthony Davis just looks like a guy sometimes out there. And that's not a good thing. He just looks like a guy. Yeah, he gets his numbers. He fills the stat sheet, so to say. He's going to score. But still, at times, he just looks like a guy, man. He does. He just looks like a guy out there to me. But all right, let's move into the next game that I want to cover before we shut down. That is the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Toronto Raptors. I want to cover this partially selfishly. My team plays them on Saturday, the Cleveland Cavaliers, that is. In this game, this was a wild game. Like, first of all, Donovan Mitchell, 21 shots to get 31 points. That's okay. That's better than what he was doing before. Mobley didn't play in this game, so it's hard to really judge this team. Well, different Mobley. But Evan Mobley, 13 points. Jared Allen, 14. Oh, sorry, flip that. Evan Mobley, 14 points. Jared Allen, 13 points in this game. They combined for 27 points. Karis LeVert with 10 points. He was 2 for 7 from the field. Darius Garland, only 2 for 8 in 13 minutes in this game. That's going to bring up some big questions there. But they lose to the Toronto Raptors. Let's see what we got here. Brandon L. Jet says 21 shots, Garland 8 shots. I'm going to see an issue going forward. Yeah, man. It like, this is the thing with Darius Garland's injury. Depending on how severe that is, it's going to change some things. But I've said this before. If Donovan Mitchell ever understands and accepts the role of being the, hey, I'm not going to take 21 shots unless they're open, right? Or if I do take 21 shots, I'm going to pick my spots in such a way that allows for the younger players to really take over the game. I'm going to be the fill-in, right? If I see that they need a big three, I'm going to be a big three. If I see we're letting the lead go away, all right, I'm going to take over the next couple of possessions. But as long as Donovan Mitchell is shooting the 21 shots to get 31 points, right? And again, this isn't the horrible. He's had way less efficient nights. But until he's able to do that thing and facilitate a little bit more, I think there's going to be a cap on this Cleveland Cavaliers team. We'll see how it ends up shaking out. But overall, they lose to the Toronto Raptors, who the Toronto Raptors is also going to be a really good team. The Raptors, every one of their starters in this game, getting in double digits. That's the balanced type of attack you're going to see from Toronto Raptors all season long, in my opinion. But this was a game that, like, I wanted to see, but it kind of is what it is there as well, like, in my opinion. Smear 60 said, the D-Mitch Garland backcourt is not going to be great on defense. Tall guards are going to cook them. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely, 100%. The defense of that backcourt is going to be the thing that really shoots them in the foot. Period. It's their inability to play defense, and Garland can be more efficient than I think Mitchell can, but also the number of shots is going to come from that backcourt for them to score the points that they do. It's just not going to leave a lot of shots for everybody else. When you look in this game, Jared Allen with only 8 shots, which more of a defensive player, that makes sense. Evan Mobley only with 9 shots. And why the hell is Isaac Okoro coming off the bench? His defense is needed. So I don't know, man. I don't see it for the Cavs in the way that other teams do. They're going to be a talented team. They're going to make the playoffs, but I just don't see them as a team that's like this clear team, and some people like picking them to be like 5th or 6th in the East. I just don't know if they come together in that way, in my opinion. I don't know if I see them coming together in the way that some people do. Now, a backcourt that found some success, and this is the last game we're going to cover today, is the Atlanta Hawks, right? That new backcourt found some success. Now, again, against the Houston Rockets that aren't the best team at all there. But it looks like, and I've always said this, they fit together a little bit better, even though DeJounte Murray didn't shoot the ball the best here. 8 for 19 from the field. Trae Young as well, 7 for 22. That's not going to get it done, but you expect them to shoot the ball a little bit more efficiently. They both had double-digit assists, those, with Trae Young having 13 assists and DeJounte Murray having 11 assists in this game. DeJounte Murray also chipping in 5 steals in this game. But Collins did his thing, 24 points from him. Hunter coming fresh off an extension, 22 points from him as well. A very front-heavy team. I worry about the bench on this team, but again, I do think that I have more faith in their front court coming together in a meaningful way than I do the Cleveland Cavaliers front court. Again, they played the Houston Rockets that aren't going to be a great team either. But that's kind of where I sit with this, man. That's kind of where I sit with this. It's an interesting night in the NBA for sure. Smear60 says the Cavs team has scary potential, but it remains to be seen, as you would say. And that's really what it boils down to with the Cavs. The potential there is really good. I think that Donovan Mitchell is going to have to learn to sacrifice in a way that he never did at the Utah Jazz and never had to, really. And if he does do that, if he accepts that sacrifice, then this team, the sky's the limit for. But we really have to see how it comes together. Brendan L. Jet, we know any team with a good two-way backcourt will give the Cavs a lot of issues. They will make them work on offense and crush them on defense. Listen, the way that Ayo Dosunmu played defense tonight, the way that he played defense, he's going to give them fits, period. And then having Alex Caruso as well, I really do like the Bulls matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers. I know like NBA-wide, that's not like the common thought, but we'll see. But that's it. I wanted to do a live. I wanted to kind of wrap up, go around the NBA here on NBA Central. Again, new channel. I am the host of Chicago Bulls Central. So if you guys wonder where I come from, do Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central. This is the new venture. So you guys will be catching me do this more often, especially on nights that the Bulls don't play. But that is it for me for today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that like button, all that good stuff. I'm out this mug. Peace, y'all.